So thank you all for joining our Higher Education Hub today. We'll be discussing how universities can help improve student wellbeing. We've got a really interesting demo coming up, which will look at a couple of personas and how you can leverage technology to engage and support your students through various scenarios. We are really keen for this to be interactive. So if you've got any questions or any comments on what we're sharing or any kind of, feedback on what you're seeing at your university, please just pop it in the chat, or if you're comfortable, come off mute and we can kind of discuss it as and when. I will be keeping an eye on the chat as well. So yeah, use that as much as you like. Before we go into the demo and everything else, we thought it'd just be good to kind of set the scene a little bit and get some people's views on this. So one of the first questions we were looking at when we were looking into this session today was, what percentage of university students have experienced worsened mental health during the pandemic? Now we'll put the answer up in a minute, but if anyone has any guesses of what they think or what they've kind of seen, please just pop it in the chat, and then we can see who's the closest to what we're seeing in the sector at the moment. Give everyone a minute. Okay, so we've got Emily guessing 30, Pat at 60. 35, so a little bit of a mix. So thank you guys for putting that in. So it's actually 58%. So 58% of students have said that their mental health has become worse because of the pandemic, and I think this is why we kind of saw this as a really important topic to be exploring today, and just to discuss and see what we can be doing to help improve this as we move, a bit further out of the pandemic. But just before we get into that, I thought it'd be good to have a little bit of context about what the HE Hub is. So this essentially is an online forum, a community for peers to explore and discuss key themes and technology through demos and open discussions across the higher education sector. And the goal really is to break down those business challenges and opportunities across higher education and to do some knowledge share really, and get that conversation started. But just a little bit of background about Crimson as well, for anyone that might be new to us. So our main goal and mission statement is to unite people, processes and technology to solve your toughest business challenges. And this is something that we really try and champion in everything that we do. We know that through delivering those iterative and agile techniques, we can help validate your business cases quicker, but also help improve that user adoption and see that change that you're looking for. We are a Microsoft Gold partner, and we work across several sectors, of which higher education is one. And the goal really is to realise that opportunity through the Microsoft technology. So we have practices across Azure, Dynamics 365, to Modern Workplace and Power BI consultancy. And I suppose what do we want to be known for, and what do we really strive? So intelligent customer experiences, optimized business processes and actionable data insights are kind of the three key pillars for us, and hopefully the demo today will kind of show that a little bit further. So just an introduction to a couple of us who are on the call. So hello, I'm Madeline Masters. I'm a new business consultant at Crimson. I work across the higher education sector, and have been working within the sector for around 5 years now. We've also got Martin and Adam joining us on the call today. I don't know if you both want to do a little intro to yourselves.
Yep. Good morning, everybody. Martin Gallagher. I'm a senior solutions consultant within the consultancy team at Crimson. Been working with Dynamics and related technologies for quite a number of years now. And it's really good to meet you all.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Adam Round, also a solutions consultant in the consultancy team. Looking forward to showing you through a bit of the demo today.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. And one final thing before we get into the demo. So we've kind of been talking about the rise in mental health post-COVID. We've got a couple of stats up on the screen here. I won't read them all out and just pull out a few key ones. So I suppose across all demographics, young adults were seen as more likely to experience those decreasing, then rapidly increasing levels of loneliness, during the pandemic. And actually 67% of young people have believed that the pandemic would have long-term negative effects on their mental health. And I suppose the most shocking thing for me when I was looking at that was people with severe mental health issues, illnesses, were more likely to die from COVID-19 than the general population. So that's kind of an overarching view of mental health post-COVID. But actually, what we were looking at when we were starting this conversation was, why should universities care about that student mental health and the well-being? And please, if you've got anything that you've been seeing over the past 2 years now that you want to call out, please just pop it in the chat, or if you're comfortable, come off mute. But for myself, I suppose the key things that I've seen have been, well-being means both that physical and that mental health, and the impact that can have on your students' performance and their scores and gradings that they're getting across their degrees, the satisfaction that they're having with their learning and with the university as a whole, and the perception that they have of the university as a result of that is often a big factor. And finally, the retention. What does that mean for you guys if a student isn't satisfied and is worried about their well-being? How does that impact on them actually staying the course of the 3 years or more at the university? And I suppose the next thing we were looking at is, what do most universities have in place? So from our initial conversations, we've been seeing that a lot of universities have help pages that provide internal services for, academic support or financial aid, but those around the wider mental health is often linked to external charities and organisations. If you've seen anything different across universities, let us know. It'd be really interesting to hear some more about what you guys are doing. But finally, what can be done? What can be done to help manage those student support services? So this does lead quite nicely into our demo. So I will hand over to Martin now, who will run through a couple of the personas that will then feed into the demo.
Oh, thanks, Madeline. So for the purpose of the demo that we're going to kind of show you over the next sort of 30 minutes or so, what we've done is we've come up with 3 personas, and really we just want to give you an introduction to these 3 people. So the first one is David. David is a student. He's currently studying at the university. But he's actually looking for postgraduate opportunities. So he wants to stay with the same university, but obviously he is looking at other options as well. So he's looking to apply and submit applications for postgraduate courses that he could do at the university. Tom works in student support services, and his responsibility is managing the day-to-day support issues and triaging the inquiries for escalation. And this could be anything from a simple inquiry about what's the situation with regard to TV licenses. As a student, do I need to concern myself with a TV license, right through to triaging sort of bullying cases or cases of depression, or any of those sorts of things. He could sort of encounter those on a potentially on a day-to-day basis. And then we've got Jackie. Now, Jackie is a mental health specialist, and she works with the university to provide professional help and assistance to vulnerable students. So her role is quite specific in supporting sort of vulnerable students. So those are our 3 personas, and we'll keep referring to those as we go through our demo. So what I'm going to do is just take the screen off Madeline and share my screen. Let's start this demo. So before we kind of actually start showing you some of the aspects of Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform and how that can help in the sort of the the ways in which you as an organization can support your students, and not just your students but your wider customers as well, the partners that you may work with, so how you can support those. I just kind of wanted to sort of raise a couple of points. I think for a number of years now, and certainly before the pandemic, universities have been thinking about ways in which they can start to engage with their students other than the kind of the traditional through, face-to-face engagements or emails, which obviously they've been using for quite a while. And that's been partly driven by the students themselves. The students have this expectation. They're very tech savvy. They're used to communicating with their peers through things like social media, through SMS text messaging, WhatsApp, portals, live chat. They're used to going on to different websites and chatting with people that can help them to get a resolution to any problems that they have. So that's kind of been driving this. What the pandemic did was to speed up the process for many of the universities. So although the universities had these initial plans to want to engage with their students in these varying channels, the pandemic certainly kind of forced the hand a little bit and made some of the university think we need to do this sooner rather than later. Many of our students are potentially in a vulnerable situation because we're not able to engage with them using the channels that we have in place. And one of the first areas that many of the universities turned to was a portal. Now, this is an example of a portal that we've just built up for our demo purposes here. And what you can actually see is that it should really be seen as an extension of your website. So universities will have websites. The portal should be seen as an extension of that. But what it should do is it should provide features to support your students. And not just your current students, but those that are starting off on the journey as well. So maybe they're only just starting to engage with the university. So you can see here, this is a portal, and what I can do here is I can get access to information without even signing in. So this is giving me access to things like knowledge-based articles, so things around staying safe, fees and funding. I can actually go into the student support area. And what I can see here is that I can actually search for things here. So if I search for application, for example, and press enter on that, you can see that I'm actually starting to get some results coming back straight away. And I haven't even set up an account with the university. What I'm actually doing is I'm able to find out information that the university may be able to help me with even before I've had that initial engagement with them. Obviously, that information needs to be limited, so you wouldn't want to share everything with your prospective students or people that are showing an interest in you as an organization, but you can obviously control what they can see. When we then get to the point where we want to log in, the first thing the students will need to do is they'll need to create an account. So what they can do is there's various ways they can do that. They can register, so they can go to the register screen and they can basically request that they have access to your portal. That needs to be approved, obviously, because you don't just want random people making up a registration for your portal. Or you could send them an invitation. So as you start to engage with prospective students, then what you can do is you can send them an invitation and they can redeem that invitation. And we can even integrate it with social media as well. So again, students will love this because they're used to using things like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. So we can use those accounts to give them access to the university portal. But once they have an account, then the next thing they would want to do is they would want to sign in. So what I'm going to do is just switch over to this one. It's the same portal, but I've just already signed in. And you can see I'm signed in as David. He's our student who's looking for postgraduate opportunities. And you can see the minute he signs in, he gets a lot more options. So so he's got this ability to be able to see far more on the portal. When he's on the portal, he has the ability to be able to manage his own profile information. So again, this is really useful for him because he can then do things like change his own password, change his own email address, update his own details in here, and he can also update his own contact preferences as well. So he's able to control that information for himself. Doesn't need to contact the university to do any of that for him. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to hand over to Adam, and Adam is going to talk us through a little bit about the journey that David might want to go on with regards to the application process. So Adam, can I hand over to you?
Sure thing. Thank you very much. I'll share my screen now. Hopefully we can all see that. So yeah, as Martin just mentioned, just show you a little bit around how David is logged in and how he can interact with his applications that he's currently submitted, and also ask a question around the application, but not having to actually reach out to a human agent as of yet, to try and sort of deflect it away from that and try and answer his question without getting a human involved. So you can see here, I'm logged in as David again on the same portal, but I'm just in the My Applications webpage. So you can see here, we've got two different views. We've got one view of the choices I've already submitted, so my applications that I've already submitted. And I've also got a draft application as well that I'm still in the process of writing. So what I could do as Dave is I could view an application here. So what this does, this gives me a really structured, formal application process, and it allows me to go back in at any time and read what I've done, what I've submitted, and perhaps if we were allowing them to, maybe edit some things as well. So you can see here on the left-hand side, we have all of our different stages throughout our application process, and we can always at any time just jump in and flick through the stages there. But say, for example, I've got a question around my application that I've already submitted. Say, for example, I'm not quite sure how to upload evidence. So obviously, throughout the application process, for any type of application, you will need to upload various different stages, various different documentation, and various different evidence. Say, for example, I'm David. I'm not quite sure how to do that. Maybe it's not too clear on the website. Maybe I've had a look into the knowledge articles that haven't answered my question. And rather than reaching out maybe via email or via telephone to an actual human agent and taking up their time, I'm actually able to ask a live chat bot. So rather than a human, I'm actually able to ask a bot. And you can see here in the bottom right, we have a little need help module here. And that is our virtual agent. That allows us to ask questions to the virtual agent and get them answered in a very quick fashion. So you can see we could just open that here. I've got a question and I want to ask it. So you can see it has popped up here identifying that who I'm currently talking to is actually a virtual agent. It's a bot. But if I do want to, I can speak to a human at any time. So for this scenario, I've got a question. I'm not quite sure how to upload evidence, so I'm just going to ask that. So how do I upload a document? Simply ask that in the chat there. And straight away, the bot has identified that I am asking a certain question that relates to a certain topic, and it has brought through some instructions for me to try out in the first instance. So again, just some generic information about how to upload the document. So to upload the document after I've submitted an application, I just go to my applications, which is where I am now. And you can see we have a upload documents button next to the relevant application. So now I'll follow those steps. I can go click on upload documents. The chat comes with me, so it's still here. I can still access all the relevant information. It's telling me now that I can select the upload document button, which is just here. I can click that. And also, furthermore, just following on from this bit of information here, I can go in, I can upload a file name, so maybe English language documents. I can select document type, so we'll go English language documents. We could input any more information here directly rather than uploading it. We can just say select an institution there. We can then just give it a course. So this helps the agent on the other end just quickly to identify what kind of document this is and what it contains. We'll give it a grade, we'll just put 1. And now I can actually go in and choose my file. So I could just simply select, open that one there. And now following on through this, we can then submit. And it tells me here on the chatbot that it should upload under the uploaded documents section, and that the university will be notified once that has gone through. So if we just give that a second to pull through. So you can see there, we now have that has popped up there, and that is now pending review. And if I had another question, or maybe this didn't quite answer the original question that I had, I can always say, yes, there is actually something else you can help me with, and then I can then go on and ask another question. But again, at this point, we could have it set up to escalate to a human, because perhaps the virtual agent doesn't have the capability to answer the question properly anymore, or it could create, say, for example, a quick inquiry or a case or something along those lines that a human agent can then pick up down the line. But that is everything from me, so I'll hand back over to you, Martin.
So before I do that, Adam, just one observation from my side. I mean, obviously the chatbot is available 24/7, yeah,
Yes.
whereas humans necessarily aren't. And also for things like, foreign students, yeah, obviously time differences and so on, then obviously the chatbot is available to them when maybe the university staff are not. So obviously that's a great feature for them to make use of.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah. Cool. All right, brilliant. Okay, what I'm going to do then is let me just take the screen back. It's interesting. I've been watching what some of you have been posting on the chat in the session, and some of the comments are really interesting. So what I want to do is just take a little look at sort of the inquiry management or the case management aspects. So we're still on the portal here. I'm still logged in as David, and during the course of the application process, or after the student has been admitted onto a course, they're always going to have inquiries, and one of the key things for lots of students is getting a prompt, timely and efficient response to their inquiries. Yeah, obviously that is a great thing for the students if they get the answers to their questions really quickly. So you can see here on the portal, you can see that I've got David's already raised a number of cases already, but if he wants to open a new one, then all he needs to do is just click the open new case option here, and what that will do is it will load up a very simple form. Now, from our experience, what we found is simple is best. It's a fine line between making sure that you capture all the information that you need from the student, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to make it too much of an onerous task for them, because if you do, they'll just basically give up, and they'll just pick up the phone, or they'll go for another means of contacting the university. So, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to get them to do as much self-serve as we possibly can. So I won't fill in the form, because I think you're all used to filling in forms, but you can see here we just ask them for a title and a description. What is their query? Is it a question? Is it a problem? Is it an appeal? So we've got different ways of classifying these cases, and then if they want to put some, if they want to start classifying it in terms of what type of issue is it. So if I just show you how that works there, what that does is it just gives them a simple list of classifications, and they can start to classify it internally. Tom, the agent, can always reclassify it if they haven't classified it correctly. So it's a very simple form, and also down the bottom here, you saw this with the application. We can add files. So if they wanted to, add files which may be photographs or documents that provide evidence to the reason for their issues. So that's how they would create a new case. But let's have a look at something that's already been set up. So we've got a bit more data. So what I'm going to do is just jump back to my support area. So I got all of David's cases. And it's just decided to go a little bit slow. Come on. Oh, that's not good. Okay, let me refresh that. There we go.
Just while we're doing, while that was loading up, Martin.
Yeah.
I've just seen a couple of comments from Pat and Martin about how using this system can help improve that well-being. Please expand on what I'm going to say, but I think what's really important is this is kind of saying, how do we make sure that your students feel engaged and they can interact to get the support as and when needed in the quickest time frame? So how are we kind of engaging with them and managing that that interaction in the best way possible? So making sure that you leverage the people and the expertise that you've got in-house to support in the best way possible.
Yes, so exactly. So, if it was, typically what you'd have is somebody triaging the inquiries as they're coming in, but then handing those off to the people with the expertise so that they can get back to the student as quickly and efficiently as possible. As Adam said, showing things like the bots, the knowledge base articles, it's all about giving them the information as quickly as they can, possibly get it, in as easy a way as possible. It takes it doesn't take all of the stress away, but it will take a lot of the initial stress away from the student if they can get the information as quickly as possible that they need to get it, so that they know what the next steps are, what actions they need to take, and so on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up one of the cases that we've already got back, and it relates to David and his application. So he hasn't actually heard back from the application, and this is an example of what we were just saying. So you can see here, I've got the details of the case here. I can see the case is in progress, but what I can do is if I scroll down here, what I actually get is a timeline. And what this timeline is showing me is how we're interacting with the student with regard to his application. So you can see here that there was an email went out, and that was an auto-generated email that went out to David, and then there was a phone call that happened. Then we had a comment. So this is a portal comment. So this is where the student can add their own comments to this timeline. So this is great because they've got a history. They can go back and review this at any time. And obviously they're not relying on things like phone calls or going to see people. They can get their updates really quickly here, and then add their own comments to this timeline. So that's how the student would see the case from the portal. Obviously, we need to now look at it from the service agent's aspect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over now, and actually I'm going to look at how Tom's day might operate. So what I'm going to do is just jump into, now this is Dynamics itself. So the portal that we've just shown you, it's a Microsoft Power Apps portal, and it is designed to work with Dynamics 365 natively, but it can work with other systems as well. It doesn't have to be Dynamics, but it is designed to work natively with Dynamics. So all of the inquiries that come in from students, what they would do is they would come into a queue, And you might remember that I mentioned a few minutes ago about making sure that these enquiries get routed as quickly as possible to the relevant person. So if I select one of these, then what you can actually see, I've got this routing option up here. So what we can do is within the system, we can create a set of routing rules that will then route those inquiries, to the right person or the right team of people within the university. And that can be automated or it can be done as a manual process as well. But that's one of the ways that you can get the student's inquiry to the right group of people as quickly as possible by letting the system automate the rules. You define what the rules are, you define what the criteria is for those rules. Now, in in Tom's base, if I now look at how Tom might work with the cases that he's actually responsible for, then what you can actually see here is that I've got a dashboard that I can actually work from. So one of the ways we can best serve our students is by making sure that we make our processes as efficient as we possibly can. So allowing Tom to be able to effectively work with the inquiries on the cases that are coming in from the student is very important. So you can see here, I can see the cases that I'm currently working on. I can see my recently resolved cases because they might be useful if a similar issue comes up again, then I can refer to something that I've previously resolved. I can set up draft emails, so I could be preparing a response to the student while I'm gathering information so that I'm not holding up the process. As soon as I've got the information, I can get the information off to the student. And also all the other activities that I might be working on. So for example, I might have phone calls, I might have appointments, I might have tasks that I need to do. So that all appears in this one place. What I can also do is I can put visual filters onto this so that I can use these visual filters because I can then use these to filter down the cases that I've got below. So I can do them by priority. Obviously, I might need to focus on the high priority cases, but I can also do that by the channel, the origin, or by where the cases actually come from. So, we could have a situation where we've got a highly vulnerable student who's raising a lot of issues at the moment. We can focus on those issues to make sure that we are dealing with that student in a very timely fashion. Or their status, so they could be in progress, they could be on hold, we could be waiting for further information, and so on. So I can use this dashboard to very quickly work through my current workload so that I can respond to the student as promptly as I possibly can. Now there is another dashboard which is more sort of tailored towards somebody that might be in a more supervisory role, and you can see this has got slightly different sort of graphics on it. Now, what I want to do is just look at two particular cases. So the first one that I'm going to look at is this one that David has raised about not having heard about his application. So what we can see in here is that obviously we're capturing quite a lot of information about the case, but there's a couple of things that I just wanted to point out to you. The first thing is this timeline. So this is the same timeline that the student will see on the portal. It doesn't have to be everything. We can put things like notes in here, which don't necessarily get sent through to the student, but we can add different types of activities onto here, and the student will have visibility of those. So they'll see that their inquiry is being progressed. The other thing is that we have this assistant. This assistant will advise me of any actions that I need to do that are fairly imminent. So when I'm looking at a case, I can see straight away that I have a phone call to do at 11 a.m. today. So that's sort of the next action that we need to take in the situation of this case with this student. If you want to have KPIs, so you can manage KPIs. So if you wanted to put in a situation where I need to respond within a certain period of time, I need to resolve within a certain period of time, then you have that functionality as well. You don't have to enable it, but it's there if you want to make use of it. And it's a good way of measuring your success rates with your students, which obviously benefits your students and supports your students. But the one that I really wanted to pick out for you here was this process at the top. One of the best ways that universities can support their students is by having well-defined processes that are consistent, effective, and timely. So you can see here, we've got a process at the top here, which allows me to step through the process of handling this inquiry or case and address the steps that I need to go through. So you can see here, we've got a 4-stage process here, which is initiate, review and respond, decision, and resolve. So as I step through this process, you can see I'm making sure that I complete all the necessary steps that I need to do to complete this case, making sure that it's accurate, it's complete, and it's consistent. But with different types of cases, you might require different types of processes. So if I look at a different case, you can see this one has more stages in it. So now this might be down to it's a different type of case. It's a general inquiry versus a case that maybe is of a health nature or a mental health nature. So it might have different types of stages in it. These business processes can be tailored to change based on criteria within the case. So they're a very powerful way of handling the cases as they come into the system. The other thing that I wanted to show you, I'm just going to flip onto another form, so we've got different ways of configuring these forms so that we can tailor them to best meet the needs of the user. So, and what I wanted to show you on this one was we've got this area here where we can see recent cases, but more importantly, knowledge base articles. So knowledge base articles are a very powerful way of getting information in front of your students. You saw them on the portal, and you can see they're actually appearing here as well. So what I can do here is the system is suggesting some knowledge base articles that might be relevant to this case. And what I can do is I can very quickly link the article to the current record and actually attach it to an email and send it to the student. So again, a quick response to an issue that the student currently has. I'm just going to flip back onto my original form. Now, the last thing that I wanted to show you on cases was the security around cases. So there are some cases that will come into the system, and I'm thinking maybe the mental health cases, for example, that are going to be highly sensitive, and a lot of the information that will be captured in those cases will be of a very personal nature, and we wouldn't want to make that information available to all of the service agents or all of the internal teams within the university that are supporting our students. So what I wanted to show you was, I'm just going to flip into another browser. So you can see here, this is Jackie. So remember, Jackie is our specialist person who deals with supporting vulnerable students. And you can see here that when I look at her Tier 1 dashboard, she's got a couple of cases here where they are of a highly sensitive nature. So, we've got an example of bullying here. We've got major anxiety issues here. These cases are likely to have very sensitive information in them, so we don't want that information to be visible to everybody within the university. So what the system allows us to do is to isolate certain types of cases so that they are only visible to certain users. So you can see here, Jackie can see these two cases, but if I switch back to this one, you can see those two cases are not visible on this dashboard here. And it is the same, it's active cases, so it's the same list of cases that I'm looking at, but the two cases in particular are not visible to this individual when they look on the dashboard. And that's obviously very important to ensure that that information is kept confidential. So I just wanted to move on to one thing more, and that's the knowledge base articles. So with the knowledge base articles, it's very easy to create the knowledge base articles within Dynamics. What is really key with the knowledge base articles, though, is to ensure that the information is as accurate as you can possibly keep it, but also it's kept up to date as well. So as you know, rules, regulations are changing, then you need to make sure that your knowledge base articles are kept up to date. There is a publishing process. So if I open this knowledge base article here, for example, you can see that what it actually asks me to do is to put in a title, some keywords, which will be used in the search process, and a description. And then down here, I've got this designer where I can actually design my knowledge base article. And I can use HTML if I want, and I can also preview the knowledge base article as well. And you can see I've got a basic formatting ribbon here so that I can format my knowledge base article. So you can see here, this is the knowledge base article. We've got some images, we've got some text with different formatting in it. So that will then go through a approval process. And once the knowledge base article is approved, then it can be published and made available on the portal to the students, but also internally to the agents as well, so that they have the latest information as well. And you do have versioning on these things as well. So you've got version control on the knowledge base articles. The last thing that I wanted to show you was is just to return back to the dashboards. So let me go back to here, and I wanted to just show you a couple of the dashboards that we have. Obviously, measuring the success of the service we offer to the students is a way of ensuring quality in terms of how we manage the student experience. So you can see here we've got some very simple dashboards. They come as standard with the system, so you just need to tailor the dashboard to your specific requirements, or in addition, you can create your own dashboards as well. These dashboards are using the data that's stored within Dynamics. So we've got things like the status here. We've got active cases by priority, by agent, but we've also got things like creation trends and resolution trends as well. As you can see, there's a good selection of dashboards, but as I said, you can mix these in with your own dashboards as well. Just one last point I want to finish on before I hand back to Madeline. Many universities use a lot of other systems. They use data warehouses, and they use other sort of back-end systems that they use to manage other data that's held about the students. So we do have Power BI, which allows you to bring all of that data together. So if you've got your case data stored in Dynamics, you've got other student data stored in other systems, then you can bring all that data together using things like Power BI to create a comprehensive dashboard for them. So on that point, I'm going to stop the demo, and I will just hand back to Madeline.
Thanks, Martin. Quickly. So just a bit of a wrap up, I suppose, of what Martin's been talking about. We've kind of spoken a little bit about how you can manage those engagements with your students to make sure that you're focusing on the most complex tasks. And this just kind of summarizes that. So the volume of queries that come in from students can be managed through this filter. So from those external searches and into your websites and your portals, and how those can link into those knowledge bases and those cues that Martin was pointing towards. And then as you get into the virtual agents, so that we can point students to the correct information, that they can manage it through themselves. And then as we get into more complicated queries and inquiries from students, you can move into these web chats. So getting into kind of the creation of the case that can be managed through and have a bit more accountability all the way through to that agent that is managing with those cases and handling them one-on-one. And really that's just to show that you can funnel your inquiries from the ones that can be self-served by students on a wider base, so that you can focus your agents and you're potentially the people that have been trained up around well-being and mental health to focus on the students that really need that one-on-one support and managing that better, so that you can respond to them quicker and work with them a bit closer and proactively engage to a degree on that side of it. But obviously the reality is that there's a lot of omni-channel journeys going on, and the demo kind of showed that through the queries coming in via the portals, via those virtual agents, social channels, and even SMS inquiries. And hopefully what we've shown is that through Dynamics, you can kind of filter this through certain processes. So whether that goes to knowledge-based articles that help the students self-serve for those simpler inquiries, all the way through to those live agents and potentially the callbacks of those agents themselves. And all of that is completely customizable and configurable with Dynamics, whether that is the case management and the quick inquiries. So that's hopefully just a little bit of a summary around that. We do have a couple of minutes left, so I don't know if there's any questions from anyone on anything that we've talked through today, but what I have done is just put up some of my contact details here. So if you've got any queries after this, I've put my email address there and my LinkedIn if you want to reach out on that. We do have 2 QR codes as well on the screen. So we have our Crimson University's LinkedIn page, and this is essentially a community of people that often come to these higher education sessions, and we share blogs, recordings of these sessions, and also some other articles that we think might be interesting for the community, and to try and create a bit of a conversation going on there too. And secondly, we do have a survey QR code there if you're interested in finding out a little bit more, or if there's anything else that you'd be keen to see at one of our next sessions. If you can spare 2 minutes and click on that and fill that out, that would be really helpful. But I do just want to, if anyone's got any questions, I'll just stop sharing my screen so I can read the chat if there is anything, if anyone wants to call anything out. I've seen a couple of chats going on within the chat bar, so I don't know if anyone wants to share what their universities are doing a little bit further, or discuss whether that's been something that would be interesting for yourselves. I might not be. Okay, well, no worries. Thank you for all joining. Hopefully you found that a helpful session, and we've created a bit of a conversation that can start. Please just reach out to me if there is anything that is of interest, or if there's anything else that you want to explore. I can just see when I'm typing. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. And we do have another event in 6 to 8 weeks' time, so keep an eye out for that. It will be on that higher education page on LinkedIn. So hopefully if you're John, you should be able to meet us again on the next one. So thanks, everybody.